Hello and welcome back to another Rush Duel Links video. Today, Konami's done something quite interesting. They kind of surprise dropped a deck building box as well as a new bundle for Rush. So we're going to go through, take a look at these cards, talk about them a little bit, talk about what we were expecting, what we predicted correctly, and what we got wrong. So we'll jump straight into deck build box, Scorching Flame Burst. So this box has some of the stuff that we thought we were going to see. We have got the semi-ruler, which we didn't know we were getting via a skill leak. We also had another UR in here that we didn't really predict. I mean, we had an idea that we might get this in the back of our head, but we weren't really sure. But this one is Shock Dragon, which is another fire dragon monster. Now, the one that we thought we were going to get originally is also in here, which is the Volcano Attack Dragon. But we also do get the Shock Dragon. Now, Shock Dragon is a really cool card. This card in the physical game was basically used as an out to maximum monsters. So level 7, 1600 attack, 2500 defense. Send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. Until the end of this turn, all face-up monsters with the highest attack on your opponent's field lose attack equal to the attack of the face-up monster with the highest attack on your field. This card can only attack position monsters this turn. So if you summon this card out and he's your only monster, you're going to weaken all of your opponent's monsters that are tied for the highest attack, which a lot of the time will only be the one monster. But that monster will lose 1600 attack. If we're able to get out, let's say a 2500 and then summon out Shock Dragon, we can weaken all of our opponent's highest monsters' attacks by 2500. So pretty good, and this is a really good way to deal with maximum, because if you do take off a big chunk of their attack points, you can just attack over them. So Shock Dragon is a card that did see a lot of play, even in non-dragon decks, just as a one-of copy, as a tech to kind of just out maximum. So it's pretty cool. On top of the fact, we do also now have an alt art of Multi-Strike Dragon Dragius, which is really cool. I mean, if you really like alt arts, it's something worth collecting, but the other UR slot in here is a little bit disappointing, and that is just Dragonic Slayer. I mean, Dragonic Slayer is fine, it's just, do we really need a reprint? And then we get to some of our other new cards. So we have the Urashima Warrior. This is a card, again, we didn't predict in our video, but we kind of knew we were going to get. This is just kind of the Gavin support that we've been lacking for a little bit now. But it's a 1200 attack, Dark Warrior level 4. Shuffle one monster with 0 attack from your graveyard into the deck. Choose one face-up warrior type monster on your field. Your opponent can activate trap cards when it declares an attack this turn. So this card is okay. So we knew we were going to get some 0 attack support as soon as we knew that Semi-Ruler was coming into the game. So Urashima Sage is kind of a given. Its effect is pretty okay. Being able to choose a warrior on your field and your opponent can activate trap cards when it declares an attack is useful, right? There's a lot of situations where you don't want your opponent to be doing that, things like Widespread Ruin, but unfortunately this only works on the one monster's attack, and because the way Widespread Ruin works, it could still destroy that monster if it isn't the first to attack, or it'll just destroy it after it's attacked anyway. So it's a little bit awkward, but still pretty cool. You obviously have to run 0 attack monsters as well, which warriors don't necessarily want to, obviously, unless they're playing the semi-ruler version. So another card we did predict was Urashima Sage, and here it is. Change this card from attack to defense, one attack position monster in your opponent's field to defense mode, and then if you do, it loses 600 defense, which again, the whole point of this is to be comboed with the semi-ruler. Urashima Sage is okay if your opponent has monsters you can't attack over, but I think right now we'd rather use Dark Arts of Celerity just to change our opponent's battle positions. There are very few monsters that have very high defense that would get in the way and stop us from just attacking over it, but I don't know how good Urashima Sage is actually going to be. Then we get into something else that we predicted, Extra Spice, the Elite Noodle Ninja. So we can send one face-up Pyro-type normal monster from field to the graveyard, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent, and draw one card. Now notably, some people thought this might get nerfed down from its 1000 burn, but it looks like all burn effects in Rush are going to remain as is. So this is a really cool card. It's not anything like super busted, obviously it still only has the 2400 attack, but being able to draw a card can be very useful. Basically it acts as filtering. On top of the fact this will eventually be half of a fusion, which is really good, because then you can summon it, use its effect, burn your opponent, draw a card, and then fuse it off into a new monster that also has a draw effect that lets you kind of go through your deck quite quickly. And since we do also have the new Noodle Ninja skill, I think this card could be okay. I don't think this card is going to suddenly be top tier. I don't think the Noodle deck is going to be that strong, but I think it's not going to be just a complete joke. I think it will probably have legs to stand on. We'll have to see how that goes going forward. So we've already talked a little about Volcano Attack Dragon. It's just a 2300 attack monster to be used with the new Fire Dragon skill. So another new card we're getting is the Noodle Art of Savory. So we did predict this a couple of prediction videos back, but it's good to see that it's finally coming out. So one attack position monster on your opponent's field loses attack equal to the number of face-up pyro-type monsters on your field times 400, which means this will cap out at 1200, which is okay. Reducing your opponent's monster's attack is generally better than boosting your own unless you have multi-attack, because you have multiple chances to get at your opponent in case they have back row to stop your attacks. So it's generally considered pretty good, as well as reducing attack is really good into maximum. So Noodle Art of Savory is always going to be pretty okay. The only negative this card really has is we do already have another Noodle Art that is going to be kind of doing a similar thing in the Noodle Art of Roastery, but Roastery boosts all of our monsters, whereas Savory weakens one of our opponent's monsters, but by a lot more. So I think people will generally not play both, and they'll pick whichever one's going to be better for the situation. And then finally, the last brand new card getting from this box is Combustion Crisis. Now this card was nowhere on my radar. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, inflicts 600 damage to your opponent, then if your opponent has 2 or more face-up level 7 monsters on their field, you can shuffle one monster on your opponent's field into the deck. Now shuffling a monster on your opponent's field into the deck is crazy. This is basically just as good as that would be in Speed. Getting rid of one of your opponent's monsters without having a destruction effect attached to it is very, very strong. Now, this is a bit of a weird one in my opinion, because maybe this just deters your opponent from playing decks that have multiple level 7 monsters, but if your opponents aren't playing specifically level 7 monster decks, Combustion Crisis also becomes a bit weak, so it's a bit of an awkward card to use. I think if you can guarantee level 7 monsters are the meta, then this card will see play, and if you can't, then it won't. I think that's basically as simple as it gets. But that's it for the brand new cards from this box. Now notably, Shock Dragon is limit 3, as well as Semi-Ruler. So Shock Dragon being limit 3 is actually a little bit awkward, because basically we're only probably going to play this in decks where our skill forces us to not use Dragius, or in some of the new skills cases we can use 1 copy of Dragius and then maybe 2 copies of Shock Dragon or something like that. It's awkward because obviously a lot of the good dragons are coming out as limit 3s, which means we're never actually able to make a true, Luke deck with all of his actual dragons. And the same can be said for Semi-Ruler the Dark Summoner. Because this is limit 3, we then can't play this at 3 copies alongside Yami Ruler. So it's just, again, a bit awkward where you can't actually use the cards that were originally designed to be played in the same deck in the same deck. It's very strange, but again, they don't have a lot of synergy outside of both being Dark Warriors, so maybe it doesn't matter too much, especially since Semi-Ruler is basically going to be combined with 0 attack monsters, and the 0 attack monster support we have at the moment isn't super great. But speaking of 0 attack monster support, they have added in a few new lifetime missions, so let's go take a look at those. One last little thing we forgot to record initially is that we are getting a new bundle with the UR card Buffered Slime. Now, one of the most annoying parts about this bundle is that because we have a deck build box, that's not a mini or a main box, which means when we do get this bundle, we'll get 17 packs of Evolving Rising Heart, which for most people is going to be a complete waste, and we had the same problem when Barrel Dragon was released in the game. So if we do want to get maximum value from this for our gems, we are going to have to wait until the next mini or super mini or main box that does come out. But this new card is quite an interesting one. This card did see a little bit of side deck play in the Modern Rush game, and it was there specifically to deal with big OTK monsters like Cyber Dragons. So, when an opponent's level 8 or lower monster declares an attack, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This turn, you take no battle damage, then if your life points are 3000 or higher, you take 2000 damage. The idea of this card is if you're going to get OTK anyway, we can stop that from happening. Now, the main negative of this card is it only works on level 8 or lower, which means it does not work on maximums, and it does not work on some of the fusion monsters. But at the time, we did have the Guildford OTK, and we did have Cyber Dragons, which is very much kind of an OTK style deck, which do both use level 8 monsters to perform their big combo, so Buffered Slime was pretty good in those situations. Here, it will probably be better used against something like a Dragius. There are some situations where this can come up, such as taking a direct attack from a Kime Ruler, or again, Dragius hitting you directly. There are some situations where this card can come up, but I don't know if this card would just become an auto-include. I think it is still a little bit situational. Okay, so the first lifetime mission is going to be, new card has been added to lifetime missions, Hermit Soul. So So this trap card is an interesting card. This is originally a Gavin support card. When an opponent's monster declares an attack targeting your face-up monster with 0 attack, change the attacking monster to face-up defense position. If you do, special summon one normal monster with 0 attack from your graveyard face-up to your field. Notably, this isn't a you can, this is just you have to special summon a normal monster with 0 attack, so you have to have a normal monster with 0 attack in your graveyard to use this card. It's an interesting one as well, because the monster being attacked also has to be 0 attack, and it has to be face up, so it's a bit awkward to use, but we can effectively blank that attack as long as our opponent doesn't have piercing, so it could be okay, but it's very niche, and it's very specific, so I'm not really sure how I feel about that. And the other mission we have adds some new skills. So the first one is Blaster's Inferno, which is the name of the Fire Dragon skill that we get from Luke. I believe this is unchanged, so it's just can be used if all the monsters with 1400 more attack in your deck are dragon monsters, and the deck contains one or less level 5 or higher non-fire attribute monsters, that would be our Dragis. Choose one face at level 6 or higher fire attribute normal monster on your field against 600 attack at the end of this turn. If it was level 7, you can add Dragon's Inferno from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So again, this works quite well with Fire Guardian and with the Volcano Dragon. So interesting that we have it. Then we have Dark Arts of Positioning. So I assume this is going to be a theme going forward. All of Gavin's skills are going to have Dark Arts in them. This skill can only be used if all of the level 4 or higher monsters in your deck are warrior and or fairies. From turn 2 onwards, shuffle one card from your hand into the deck, reveal a level 6 fairy monster with 0 attack in your hand, add semi-ruler from your deck to your hand. This turn, at the start of the battle phase, during the end phase, change the battle positions of all face-up level 6 fairy monsters on your field. So I think realistically, this skill shouldn't shuffle a card from your hand into the deck, and I think overall it's going to be a little bit weak. I think the little combo we can do with this is okay, but it's nothing crazy. And then we have Noodle Art Reboot. This skill can only be used all of the level 5 or higher monsters in your deck are fire attribute pyro effect monsters with 0 defense, and or all normal monsters are pyro type. Requirement none. Effect, choose one face up level 5 or higher monster on your field against 600 attack at the end of this turn. Then if it was a level 7 or higher monster that was summoned this turn, you can add one pyro normal monster with 1300 or less attack from your graveyard to your hand. So again, this works with our new Noodle Ninja card, and I think it's okay. It's nothing crazy, but it is fine. So notably, we are missing a few things, right? We haven't got the Metagear or the Metagear skill. We don't have access to Can-D or Can-Ready, which we were expecting for our Roman support. We haven't got our Nail skill yet. We haven't got our Blue Eyes skill, which again, we did predict might be in a structure deck, so that's not too surprising. We also haven't got Ice Arc, which was the other Gavin support. So there's still a lot of stuff missing from those leaks. So maybe in this sort of situation, usually I would predict that we're going to have maybe a mini box or a super mini right after this, but super minis, at least the one we've had so far, was directly after a mini and added more support for the archetypes in that box. So I'm not really sure where we're going to go with this. Maybe it'll be another deck build box, maybe it'll be just a mini box in the future, but notably there are still some skills that we don't have yet, and some of the cards listed in those skills also are not out yet, so they have to come out at some point. I also wouldn't be surprised to see just more deck build boxes, because they've already shown that they're wanting to add in the Dragius alt art, and there are alt arts for many other cards, including all of the main characters' ace monsters. So we probably have that to look forward to in the future. But thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.